Hey, welcome back to the Men's Roundtable Series podcast. I'm your host, Mr. U, your moderator. These guys are the hosts right here. In the building, we got several warriors in here, fathers, husbands, sons, brothers, doing it big where they live, man. So we got some other guys coming through there a little bit on the late side, but it's all good, man. But get some time, guys, a quick 30 seconds or so. Introduce yourself, your name, where you're from. What are you into, man? Around the horn, man. However you want to do it, man. Popcorn style. Come on, who first?
My name's Dwight Heck. I'm from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. My life is about helping people live life on purpose and not by accident. And my brand is called Give a Heck.
I love it. Who's next? Come on.
Coach T.O. Clay, lightbulblessons.com. Live down in Atlanta, Georgia. Retired United States Marine, leadership coach,
yes,
man
sir.
of God. I love the Lord with all my heart, and I love this environment, being with strong men ready to push the ball down the field. Grateful to be here.
I love it. Who's next?
Shit, I'm Dustin, aka DL the Low Life, host of the Low Life Show, man, livingthelowlife.com.
I'm Lee
Freebird,
Freebird.
servant of Jesus.
I'm a former Navy corpsman. I'm a product designer by nature. I'm a machinist by trade. I'm also an author, wrote a book called How to Live a Better Life. And I'm in the process of writing a second book called How to Be a Better Man, specifically looking at the weak man and the transition from weak man to strong man, right down to the rite of passage that I believe every man needs to go through. I'm a believer in God, not just a believer, I'm a follower. I'm a servant of his, serving my local church here in Southwest Missouri. And I'm currently on a contract job with Walmart.
Love it. Who's next? Dio, were you done, man? There's some lag between you guys. Were you done? You good?
No, it's all good though. We can keep it pushing, man. This ain't about me. This is about the people that are going to be following and listening and hopefully receiving something.
Who's next?
Yeah, I'm Jason, founder of Evolutionary Men, and I lead men's groups, men's embodiment, retreats, shadow work to help guys get connected up in communities so they can thrive together.
Thank you, sir. Next.
All right. Steve Maynard, better known as Stu. I am AKA Stu. I'm a retired Marine Master Gunnery Sergeant, current full-time communications instructor, just starting out with C2L Consulting and Strategies. That's communicate and lead. My passion is about communicating, connecting communication to leadership through interpersonal communication, public speaking. That's it, man. Just happy to share.
That's plenty. Thank you, sir. Last but not least, the Lion.
Thank you, Yusuf. My name is Rory Paquette. I'm the host of 6 podcasts, including The Power of Man, which I am very pleased to say over half of you guys have already been on, which is awesome. And I'm a podcast coach, a speaker coach, and I also coach men with leadership and fatherhood. So very, very happy to be here. And, hi, everybody.
All right, good stuff. You still got 1 or 2 more supposed to be coming through. They told me they're going to be late. But just to be clear on something, because we're in different time zones, different places, could be lag between us. So take about 3 Mississippi before you make your point. Somebody had a chance to jump in just in case we don't stumble over each other. But last month, we were talking about relationships, and that convo if you didn't catch it, I don't know what's wrong with you. But it was heavy, man. I think she was late. This was a heavy episode. But we got a little deeper than I planned. But we got to finish that. It was so long we couldn't finish it. It was like an hour and 15, and we still weren't close to being done. So today, we got the unenviable task of trying to finish that conversation in less than 60 minutes. So we'll see how that's going to work out. But let's get into it, man. I want to talk about emotional availability. I want to talk about leading in the home, authority versus accountability. I want to talk about healing father wounds, breaking the cycle with our children, intimacy, forgiveness, trust, also that men got to deal with every day, man. So I'll kick it off with just the first question. Let you guys run with this, and then we'll go ahead and bring anybody that's new, anybody that's jumping in, hearing us for the first time today. In the upper right-hand corner of the screen is a QR code. That's how, if you decide you want to be a part of this panel, that'll get you on the wait list, all right? Upper right-hand corner of the screen is a QR code. Grab it. Interview with me, a real quick one. Get you on the panel. You can be a part of this conversation. First question, man. So what does emotional maturity look like in a man today? What does emotional maturity look like in a man today? Who wants to grab that first, man? The first should be last, and the last should be
sure.
I'm a newbie, but I'm gonna take it because I teach a chapter on emotional intelligence, and as it relates to men, just being able to be comfortable with your emotions. Having emotions is human, but what you do with those emotions and whether you can control them or not plays a huge role in our lives as men, because so many men have made decisions that have been detrimental to their relationship and their freedom because they didn't have the ability to control their emotions. So in the house, it goes the same way. If you can't control your emotions at home, you're going to make decisions that are going to be detrimental to your family.
Thank you, Stu.
Well,
next?
I want to add to that, man. Scripture comes to mind, right? When we talk about love, right? We love because he first loved us. And it's this inward, then outward flow. A lot of times I feel that we talk about emotional intelligence in the way of how do we interact with others, how others are affected by us. That deems us whether we are emotionally intelligent or not. But if we're not aware and, like Stu said, in control of our own emotions, if we don't know what those are, how can we be emotionally intelligent, right? So I think for an emotionally intelligent man, that's someone that's comfortable, like Stu said, that's aware of their emotions, that knows how to process them, that knows when or when not to speak on them, right? Someone that has complete reign on it. I would say that is an emotionally intelligent man.
Thank you, DL. Who's up? Roy?
Yeah, I'll jump in if that's okay. I love what you guys had to say and agree with everything that's been said so far. For me, as soon as I hear that, the key for me is a man who's not ruled by his emotions. We need to be able to feel them. We need to be able to process them. All of these things are really, really good. For me, the end result of that is that we still have to be able to function. We have to be able to be fathers and husbands and protectors and providers. And we have to be able to do that without being ruled by how bad we feel or how awful we feel or anything else in a given day. We still have to get up and go out and, deliver. So, yeah.
I love that. I'll jump on that as well, just in the sense that, right, the key is exactly what do we do with them? We all have them. And one of the big troubles with men these days is we're taught by our culture that masculinity means invulnerability. So men don't know how to identify or label or relate to their emotions. We're not taught that from pretty young age. And so what do? We have these experiences inside of ourselves that don't feel good. So most men by default turn to things outside of themselves to change their state. Alcohol, weed, booze, porn, masturbation, you name it. And it doesn't actually solve what's going on underneath. So learning when we have an emotion to identify it, and then what do we do with it is the key. That's, I think, what really demarks, a mature man from an unmature man. Because when we don't know what to do with it, it comes out sideways, often towards the people we love, or in terms of self-neglect or self-abuse. But when we learn to maturely handle it, where do I bring this emotion? How do I work with it? It's something that's just data for us about what's going on in our lives. And frankly, from the men I know, makes us more effective leaders when we know how to handle that. And just last thing, there's a huge difference between suppression and repression. Sometimes we got to suppress. We're in the heat of the moment. Something's going on. We got to get stuff done. But the key is to know we have to come back to it in a safe environment and work or release that, because otherwise it accumulates inside of us and it causes damage long term.
Love it. Just to give a shout out to our friend of many of us, the innovator, Emilio Roman's in the house, saying blessings, man. Thanks for listening, brother. I appreciate you so much, man. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for sharing the message that we're sharing today, man. And good point, Jason. Thanks again for sharing that. Who's next?
I'll start. Continue on. Being a dad of 5 kids, 4 of them girls, they're all adults now. I had to learn to hone in on something that many people don't have. Filters called the core values. My core value systems can be very detailed, but they are very simple in the fact they develop around faith, family, and work. So anytime I get into a stressful situation, I try to, within the first, because psychologists have proven, right, within the first 45 seconds, if you don't change your state, you're stuck, right? It can take you hours to get out of it. So I put things through my filter. I think about my faith. I think about God. Is what I'm going to say or how I'm going to react going to serve me? Is it going to serve that person? Is it just going to make them feel terrible? Is it going to make me feel terrible? So whether it's somebody that's 5-6 years old or somebody that's 80 years old, I've put things through a filter, and it always starts with my faith. It always starts with God. You know, what would Jesus do? Right? That's my whole life. Since I was a young kid, I remember one of my young daughters coming to me and saying, Dad, you know, we learned this in youth group today. And I said, what's that, hon? And she was maybe 8, 9. What would Jesus do? Right? So I start my filter at my faith, and the rest just works its way out.
Love it. I love it. Amelia got a question for us today. Well, a comment anyway. Said, great question. Amelia, emotional maturity is knowing when to stay calm and lead with love, not ego. Thank you, brother. Good thought. I love it, man. All right. Anybody else is next? What is emotional
I'll say
maturity?
this.
Yes, sir.
If you don't mind, good brother Yusuf.
No,
So when I look at the screen, all of us on here collectively, man, I'm sure nobody's younger than 45. Maybe, brother, how old are you, brother? DL? Is that your name? 40? Okay, so you're right there at it. But
good.
what do we say, gentlemen, to that young 22-year-old right now that he may be listening in his earpods at his job, wherever he's at, and everything we're saying sounds good, but he hasn't developed that full aspect of emotional intelligence just yet. Because I know at 22 I had not. I know at 25 I had not. At 30 I had not. Because again, the external situations that we're dealing with, and I don't want to turn this into a nothing crazy, but I know at 49 I have to manage, like my good brother just said, as a father, as a husband, as a leader, as a coach, as a friend, as a son. We have to continuously manage. But I think of emotional. I was sitting in the garage the other day, gentlemen, short burst. I pulled in the garage, home by myself. Everybody's out, kids at school, wife doing her thing at school. And I'm sitting there, man, and I felt the weight. I literally felt the weight, gentlemen, and whatever that weight may be, but I felt it. Started to speak it out, talking to the Lord, man. Next thing you know, I'm crying full blown. I'm literally saying out loud, sitting in the car, you know, inside the garage. Obviously, I have a Tesla, so I wasn't sitting in there sucking in fumes and smoke, but I'm sitting there, man, and I'm praying, bro. And I have my eyes closed really tight. And I started seeing those little green dots and seeing those red dots. And man, but after that prayer, gentlemen, after that release, emotionally, man, I was able to get out of that car, man, and keep pressing forward. So to that 22-year-old, definitely it's possible. But like the good brother just said, it's so many different aspects, and you got to focus on a few things to get the many. Yeah.
That's good, sir, brother. Thank you for being so transparent, man.
Hey, can I really quickly?
Yeah.
Can I really quickly? Thank you for sharing that, because that's huge, right? To that 22-year-old, we've got all of these years in this panel, right? We've been through our 40 years in the desert. To that 22-year-old out there, man, prayer, man. An emotionally mature person prays.
Yeah, bro.
An emotionally mature person allows the Holy Spirit, who was sent to us to guide us and to lead us, to actually lead. And that
Man,
starts in prayer. We can't know him. We can't follow him. We can't do any of these things or process any of these things properly without prayer, man. Why not ask the one who made the box that has all the ingredients to that compose us? Why not ask him
Let's go.
how these things function, right? He has the to-do manual. He knows exactly how it works.
man, that's it.
I love it, man. Anybody else?
Yeah, to the man, that 22-year-old thing, that angle, because we do have so much experience as gentlemen on the panel, it still comes back to decisions. Do you want to make a decision, an emotional decision that is gonna make you feel good in the moment, but could jeopardize your freedom or your relationships long term? So if you're young and you're feeling like you're feeling, ask yourself, if I make this decision, what next? It's okay to feel how you're feeling. Tired, frustrated, beat down, great. Acknowledging it first, but don't make a decision in the moment that's going to cost you years and years and years of struggle and captivity, because we know a lot of brothers who are incarcerated right now, been incarcerated 20, 30, 40 years because they made an emotional decision at 17, 18, 19-year-old, and they're still paying for it.
Wow.
No doubt. And some of them are not even inside little bars. They're inside, they're in their home, going to work.
Yeah, up here.
They've been in prison for decades.
That's right.
Ask me how I know. All right, let's shift the conversation a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about modeling accountability. I know that as men, we got a lot on our shoulders, and we deal with a lot as far as trying to establish authority in our households and in areas of influence. In your assessment, how do you think men model or should model accountability for their children, for those that are partners in their life, etc.?
I think the best way to work on accountability myself is to do what you say you're going to do. So from the simplest little things, and here's what I mean. I've taught my kids this, as simple as making the bed in the morning. I promised myself years ago I'd never get out of bed without doing a few things. One of them is being grateful to God for being alive, giving that opportunity to open my eyes and have another shot. The next one, once I am blessed to put my feet on the ground, I'm making my bed. I was given that bed. I was given my home that protects me. I need to respect it. Keep things clean in front of my visual keeps me clean up here. So I literally model that to my children. And I always remind them the simplistic thing of, would you talk to yourself that way, right? If you wouldn't talk to yourself that way, don't, right? And be accountable to everything you say to people. Hey, I will do this, right? And do it. Unless extenuating circumstances are there, there's no difference between you look at a young person or older person. I always tell them, listen, here's where I'm at in my life. Here's where you're at in your life. But if I make a commitment to you, I'm going to keep that commitment, right? There's no maybe, there's yes or no, right? There's no in between. I get tired of people personally that say maybe, right? And they're not accountable to themselves. And every time we as men say something to somebody and you don't keep that promise, that accountability, your brain eats away at itself. Giant computer doesn't know the difference between a truth and a lie, and it starts running a program that it's really hard to get off of, that hamster wheel.
That's good stuff. Yes, sir.
That's good.
Who's next?
Come on, fellas. I know everybody got something to say about this.
I'll jump in there, man. It's all good. I just want to give everybody a chance. So I appreciate you guys. No, to me, accountability is taking responsibility for what is your job in a lot of ways. Also, I love the ideas of leading by example and things like that. But one of the things that I operate on, and back to the earlier one, I have two boys in that age group we were just talking about. One's 21, one's 25. And I raised them both with the idea that the people who depend on you have to be more important to you than you are to you. And that doesn't mean you don't take care of yourself. It doesn't mean that you don't fill up your cup. It just simply means that if there's 4 people at the table and there's 3 pieces of chicken, you're the one that was supposed to provide it. You're the one who goes without. You're the one who sacrifices. I've led my boys with those ideas of self-sacrifice. Hey, if you don't have to self-sacrifice if you provide properly, if you protect properly, if you do what you need to do as a man. But if you don't, if you fall short, then you're the one who has to take that accountability. You're the one who doesn't eat. You're the one that does without. When you come at your life and you come at raising kids and you come at your relationships from a position of, if I'm not doing what I need to do, then I'm the one who sacrifices. That position of self-sacrifice, everything else opens up for you. Your ability to have faith in God opens wide open. It just opens up like the sky during a rainfall. It opens up when you're talking to your kids. Your kids can start putting that into practice when they're younger with their friends, with what they're looking for. And it keeps them from that entitled idea, that a lot of kids today are suffering from. So that's my thing on accountability is leading from self-sacrifice.
I love it. Thank you, Rory. Who's next?
I would say two things.
So,
transparency and vulnerability. I have 4 adult daughters, 5 grandkids, and I try to be as transparent with them about how I'm feeling, what I've gone through, and the mistakes that I've made. Because sometimes our kids look to us like we have it all together and we have it figured out, and being vulnerable enough to say, I messed this up. I don't want you to mess it up. So this is how to avoid driving yourself into that ditch. And being, again, just honest and transparent with them and letting them know I am vulnerable. I make mistakes, but I'm still here and I'm still trying to get it done. And when we can be honest with anybody, we should be able to be honest with those people in our intimate circle more so than we can with anybody else. And vulnerability is one of those things that was a barrier for me because I was too guarded. I did not want to let them see that I was flawed. I make mistakes. I have messed up, and I didn't want them to see me in that state. And the one person I wasn't vulnerable enough with over anything was my spouse. And she was the one person I should have been the most vulnerable to. Because if anybody else in this world knows me better than me, it's her.
Right.
And I cheated my relationship for 20 plus years, holding it in, tying back into emotional intelligence and not being emotionally intelligent enough to acknowledge how I'm feeling to her. That nearly destroyed my marriage because I didn't let my wife know what I was going through because I thought in my mind I was putting a burden on her. But in reality, she's here to help me get through those things. And once I realized that, I'm like, she is dope. She is smart. She can help me get through whatever I'm going through. But it took years and years and years of getting to the point to saying, you know what? Letting it go. I'm going to be vulnerable.
I love that. I just want to add, I think that's a great example of part of accountability and healthy modeling of it is modeling the art of repair. So instead of pretending, particularly big for us men, that we have to go around perfect, knowing all the answers, never asking for help, getting it right, we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to mess it up sometimes. We're all not going to know the right answer. And one thing I've had to learn to do with my kids is model how easy it is to take responsibility and repair. Hey, you know what? You're right. I did drop the ball on that. And I wish I had done it differently. And here's what I'm going to commit to make sure I don't do that differently that next time. Or talking to my wife, right? Hey, yeah, wow, you're right. What I did right there, I can see how that would hurt you. I'm not going to defend, right? Instead, I'm just going to show that it's easy to repair. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you like that, but I can see I did. And that ease of repair, I never had modeled in my family. So I was always like keeping it in, trying to be perfect, becoming a lawyer, arguing why they got it wrong and how actually if you just understood where I was coming from, you'd get it. Letting go of all that and just showing being a man means learning, means making mistakes, and it means owning up to it when you need to. And also not falling on the sword of shame and collapsing every time you did something wrong, because it doesn't mean you're a horrible person or man. It just means you learned something new. And I think the easier we can model that in our families and communities, the easier it's going to be for other guys, particularly those 20-year-olds.
Before the next person jumps in, I want to just throw a question out. I'm not asking for an answer because this one's one of them kind of questions. This is a tough one. So I'm just going to put it out here for us to be thinking about as we move forward in this conversation. If you answer it, that's on you. I'm not asking for that. But just think about it because this is a serious question. I see this in people who I'm mentoring and coaching and that kind of stuff. And I see this all the time. It's a blind spot for men. But here's the question. Would your family describe you as a leader that they can follow or one that they fear? Would your family describe you as a leader that they can follow or one that they fear? See, because of those blind spots, we got an instant answer. We think we know what it is, but we don't know what they think. We don't know what they feel because they don't always share what they feel. Sometimes they're motivated by fear more than they are about more than respect for you as a leader. So just something to think about. I'm gonna ask for an answer. Just ponder that as we continue to talk about the question on the floor about modeling accountability for our children, our family, and our community. Who wants to go up next? You got it. Lee, go ahead, but I saw your hand. Go ahead.
This is a good conversation so far. I'm really enjoying this. It's really causing thought and thinking about how this is emotional maturity and accountability, modeling accountability come together. And one thing, when younger men, especially today in today's age, have a hard time dealing with their emotions because they're not taught it by other men. And so they become reactive to their emotions, not it doesn't become something that they sit with and think about and feel and express and then let go of. So they have a tendency of reacting upon emotion, which tends to be a feminine characteristic less than a masculine characteristic. And so if we could teach young men one thing, that would be to sit with their emotions and to feel them and to recognize them, but not react upon them. And then in the modeling accountability, one thing I learned as I grew and matured as a man is that sharing what I'm doing, where I'm going, where I'm trying to take the family, what the intention of my family is for, and sharing those things with the family so that they know that I have a plan and I have a direction, and I'm encouraging them to come alongside and to be a part of that. And then as they see me accomplish these things, they begin to recognize that I'm taking responsibility for what I said I'm going to do, and then I carried it out. And as they watch me do that, then they themselves begin to learn accountability and responsibility for their own life. So then I take it a step further. I give opportunity for taking accountability. Here's this thing that we need to do. Would somebody in the family step up and take on that task? And then the family as a whole holds that person accountable for what they've said or volunteered to do. Same goes for myself. When I tell my family my plans, I'm telling them, hold me accountable for what I'm about to do. And as I accomplish these things, their faith in my leadership ability grows stronger, and they willingly, no longer as in a force, but they willingly fall in next to me, and we begin down this path together. And so being emotionally stable, not reacting on those emotions or overreacting to those emotions, feeling them, and then creating clarity in them, and then creating the path by which we're going to follow, sharing that with my family so that they can hold me accountable as we go this direction. And I think that's extremely important.
Lee, it's good stuff, man. That's real good. Thank you for sharing that, brother. Anybody else before we move forward?
Yeah, I want to throw a couple of little thoughts in here. First, I want to thank you, brother TL, for framing that thing for that 22-year-old, because I think you've opened up a perspective and a directive in the conversation. So I'm going to be speaking to that 22-year-old probably through the duration of this thing. The 22-year-old, man, what you've been hearing here, I think we can string it all together, right, in one concept, and that's humility, right? That's living below what the world says you're supposed to do. That's not flexing and being boastful, but as the scripture says, being boastful in your weakness, right? And I'll even go further. And what my brother up here, I can't remember your name, up in the top right, but you mentioned what would Jesus do, right? And we can go even further, and we can say, what did Jesus do? Because we actually have a track record of what he did. We don't have to guess. We don't have to try to theorize any of it, right? We have a track record. We know exactly what he did. And two of these core principles that we use in our discipleship out here in the Bay, one of them is courageous obedience, right? And that's obedience to the Father's will, even if it hurts. Oftentimes, especially if it hurts, right? Especially if it's going to defame your reputation in the world, but it pleases him, right? That's one step we can take. And the other one, like everyone's been mentioning, this honesty, right? Fearless honesty. Again, honesty that might defame you, honesty that might make you look less in the eyes of people. But I'm telling you, when it looks right in the eyes of the Father, that's all that really matters, man. The end line, at least for me, I'm pretty sure it's the same for each man on this panel. The end line, when it's all said and done, the goal is to hear the Father say, "Well done, good and faithful servant." It's not to have the world say, "Hey, man, do you remember this person?" It's to have God say, you did a good job, son. You did a good job, daughter." Right? And so that 22-year-old out there, man, it's a tough world to live in.
Yeah.
It is, period. All of these things we're talking about are hard concepts. These are things that we've gleaned over time. But the beauty of it is, after all of this time that we've spent struggling through it, we're giving you a map work and letting you know that you're not alone, that it's not uncommon for these things to happen, that it's not easy, but it is possible. Just want to say that to you.
It's good.
That's incredible stuff. Anybody else? If not, we'll move forward. We good? Yeah. The next one is probably the gut punch of the episode. Because, well, at least for me as a host, maybe you guys have no idea what I'm talking about. But for me, this is one of those topics that it's taking me years to get to the place of health. I'm way better. You know what I'm saying? Totally. I'm working on that. But we're talking about healing father wounds and kind of breaking that cycle. My situation, maybe you guys have heard this, was not really a secret. If you listen to the first 3 seasons of our original flagship show, They Call Me Mr. You, you hear it in no short order. But I didn't have a father in the household, and I essentially chased him across the country just to get one answer from him to a question that I had. Why didn't you stay with me? Why didn't you love me? I chased him around the country. I mean that little, like, as far as New York is from the other part of the country, I chased him that far to try to get the answer to that one question, and I could never get it. I eventually had some conversations, but the short order is that he passed away from an aneurysm. I think connected to his time in Nam. I'm not quite sure all the details, but I had to go and bury him. So it was me in the morgue and him on the icy slab. And I'm pounding his chest with both fists, telling him to come back to life because we still got business to finish. So I never got the answer. So I had to deal with that kind of thing, plus raise 3 daughters without any idea of knowing how to do that. Now I got 6 grandkids and 1 great-grandchild. I'm still trying to figure some stuff out.
Right.
So we're in the soup right now. So I'm giving everybody a pass. We have a great relationship with your fathers. No judgment. You ain't got to say nothing. You good. Wait for the last topic of the show. You can jump back in. So you don't have to say anything. But if you don't, this is more for you then. But tell us how your relationship with your father or lack thereof kind of influenced your approach to love, your approach to relationship and leadership. How was your relationship with your father or lack thereof form that for you?
I'll jump in on that one. Mine's pretty well documented. Anybody who's ever listened to any of my stuff. My dad was the worst. Alcoholic, couldn't handle anything. And it was pretty regular. He would come home and it was just like clockwork. He'd come home, he'd get drunk, he'd beat somebody up. And that's just kind of how life was for a very long time. As bad as that was, I think that especially folks in my generation, because, I'm a little further older than 40 for everybody who was over there talking about it, it's deep. And, when you're my age, you come from that Gen X tree. And I think, guys ended up either following their father's footsteps or they ended up completely going the other direction. I grew up in the point where, I don't drink. I don't touch it. I don't do any of that stuff. Because I'm not going to put myself in a position where it can become a demon for me and it can take hold of me. But it was so bad growing up that I grew up with this devout dedication to not following that. So for me, it's never been a casual thing, trying to not be him. It's been my life's mission to not be him. And when I had my kids, all 3 of them, one of my first thoughts was, I cannot be him. And so, just to speak for myself, it impacted me greatly how that relationship was because it was so horrifying. And I had it with a father and with a stepfather. So, it was, I got the double whammy on that whole deal, but absolutely, positively devastating. And it meant everything to how I was as a father.
Thank you, sir. Who's next?
Sweet, I'll jump in. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Lee.
All right. I have a very unique situation. I actually have two fathers. I was adopted at 2 days old, and I never knew my biological family. I was raised by a Christian family. They were Baptists, grew up in the church my whole entire life. And as a child who's been adopted, there are some things that go along with that. And one of them is this feeling of emotional abandonment. While my parents loved me and they were very active in my life, there was still this kind of like, he's not really my dad. And it really came about when my adopted parents had their first biological son. And while the love didn't really necessarily change, there was now his son and me. And I was older and he obviously my younger. And there was always this have to almost earn their love. And maybe it wasn't necessarily what they were trying to get across, but that's what came towards me. And so I was always trying to prove myself to my adopted dad, trying to do better, always trying to do things I thought he would like. And it really put me in this people pleaser mentality. Even when I joined the Navy, I still had that people pleaser mentality. And I was a corpsman, and it had a major effect on the way that I treated other people and looked up to leaders and what I thought a leader would look like. And then about 10 years ago, I met my biological dad. And I got to talk to him and got to sit down with him. And there were a lot of things in his life that I can see in my own personal life that I don't want. I didn't want my life. My biological dad had anger issues, and he would get so mad that his body would shake, literally shake. He would be so mad. And I thought, no, I am not going to do that. And seeing those two dads, one was a Christian and one lived for the world. My biological dad went to jail. He did drugs. He did all kinds of things, counter to like a 180 from my adopted dad. And even today, I cling to my adopted dad as my father, and I look at him as my father, and his leadership is still impactful in my life. Yet my desire is for my biological dad to be in my life more actively. While him and I don't like, he's, no offense to him, he's a far left Democrat and I'm a moderate. We don't see eye to eye, but yet there's a part of me that wants him in my life, no matter what his stance is. And the way that I raise my family and I take care of my family came from my adopted dad. And then, of course, following Christ, what he says about leading the family. And so there shouldn't be a desire for my biological dad to be in my life because he doesn't align with what I believe. Yeah, it's important. His presence in my life is very valuable to me. And maybe that's just because that's the way we were created, to always look to our Father for guidance and our values and the way that we lead and transfer through life. But yet, my heart's towards God, but yet it's at the same time for my Father, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Yeah. I just want to speak really quickly to because I identify with both what Rory and Lee said about seeing the things that we don't like, we're not going to do. We're adamant that that's not going to be us. I'm the result. My broken marriage was the result of actually relationships. Period was the result of the danger in focusing on those things. I was so hyper focused. Now, mind you, I love my dad. He was my hero. I emulated him for most things. But I knew the things that I didn't like that he did. I didn't like when him and my mom fought. I didn't like the way that he talked to us. I mean, I come from the era where you were still allowed to spank your kids and then some. So he was still doing that, right? I didn't like all of those things. And I swore to myself, I'm not going to do those things when I become a father, when I have a relationship with people. Here's the danger in it. I was so hyper focused on those things. I didn't think about the things that I was going to do. All I thought about was what I wasn't going to do. Right. So I became a person who was all of those things. I said to myself, I'm not going to be abusive. I became a very abusive person. I'm not going to be violent. I became a very violent person because I didn't see the counter to it. Right. My eyes were only fixed on all the things that I didn't like. I forgot to learn how to love. I forgot how to learn how to lead. I forgot to learn how to even follow. Right. My opinion was the only thing that mattered because that's how he was. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Right. And it was, again, to the 22-year-old out there, this might be you. This might be you. And I'm going to tell you where it landed me at. It landed me in prison. It landed me with a million broken relationships that probably have no hope of reconciliation. It landed me feeling isolated and alone many, many a night, right? So just an awareness of the danger of that. I would encourage you to, instead of looking at the things that you don't like or won't do, look at the things that you do like and would do. Right. And then obviously my advice always goes to the last part of it, which is the first part of it, right? The first and the last is to look at that in the light of the gospel, right? We do have a playbook. We do have one. But I just encourage you to, it's okay to be aware of those things. Don't let that be your focus, because I can tell you from experience, it doesn't lead to anywhere good. Right? If that's your only focus, like I'm sure Rory looked at the good things that he was gonna do, right? But he was also making sure like those things came from him not wanting to be an alcoholic, not wanting to be an abusive father, right? He saw the things that he wanted. I didn't. So if you're a 22-year-old out there who's hyper focused on just the negative, try to find the light and lean more into that.
Good stuff.
I will chime in, and I think it's important for people to hear the diversity of relationships and how complicated life can be amongst us. One from an adoptive perspective, one from a biological perspective, and divorced, blended families and things of that nature. Right? I have two dads. I was blessed to have my biological father, and I was blessed to have my bonus dad. And T.O. is going to relate to this. And if you have served any time in the military, it's about taking your toolbox everywhere you go.
That's right.
I'm getting everything I can from my biological. I'm getting everything I can from my bonus. I'm putting it in my toolbox. And then I'm blending those things together and thinking about, how do I want to do it? Because they were total opposites in their way of thinking, which has allowed me to download both of those philosophies and come up with my own. And it's okay to come up with your own and mess it up, but it doesn't have to define you. Great points about not looking at or focusing on what I don't want to be, but thinking about the cards you were dealt or the decisions that you made that you're in now, and figuring out a way to be better and tying that into the modeling and the example of what you want your kids to follow. I think that's just super important to not lionize our fathers and not demonize them at the same time, because they're humans at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's good.
Most of them were dealing with the situations that the best that they knew how.
That's right.
And now that we know better, we download those tools and we do better, or we try to do better and help the next generation not make the same mistakes that we made and the generations before us.
I love it. Thank you, sir. We got a comment to jump in before you guys keep on going. Our guy, Robert Tenacious Mind, jumps in. He says, it's powerful to see men being vulnerable. There's real strength in opening up, not as a sign of weakness, but as a mark of courage and growth. he continues. I love seeing brothers step forward and share their hearts, their lessons, their pain, and their healing. Yeah, brother, that's what we do on this show. A lot of subject, man.
Oh, man,
Yeah, man.
dude, Robbie is so dope, bro.
Yeah, that's our brother right there, man.
Lytle.
And I can say, based on, shout out to Robert Lytle, Dallas, Texas. Man, his father, rest in power, man, because when we have conversations, Robert and I, we talk about our fathers and how pivotal they were. Just like Stu said, right, wrong, great, horrible, indifferent. We extract those lessons, man, because I'm a perfect example of a young man having a father in my life. He's always been there. I always say, man, if I call him right now in real time, 11:46 a.m. on the East Coast, 27 October, he's going to answer. Unless the Lord is taking him home, knock on wood, he's going to answer. But there's always that little bitty gap at the bottom of the door, gentlemen. If you look good enough, if you got that light on and it's dark where you're sitting, you can see that little gap in the bottom of the door. I went through that gap. So regardless of how dope your father is, regardless of how involved he is, regardless of, everything you can actually think of that we would expect of a father, there's always that gap in the door that an individual like myself can slip through, and so again, I look at it today, and when I talk to my dad, I say, Dad, you did everything that the model father could do. But one thing you couldn't do was duplicate what I saw out in those streets. You couldn't duplicate that little chick at the homecoming dance. You couldn't duplicate when the partner was like, yo, hit this one time, bro. Like, all you need to do is just hit it once. It's just going to make you laugh. All these different things. And when we converse to this day, he always says, but I gave you the rooted foundation. And you was able to circle back to that rooted foundation. So again, when I look at us on this call right now, we're all fathers. I got two sons as well. One is 11, one's 16. And man, I'm just listening to you gentlemen, and I'm just sitting here like, wow, man, like I'm not alone. I'm not alone. And to that 22-year-old out there that we've been building with this whole episode, man, like, man, I know 22-year-olds that got 8 kids. Literally. You have eight children by 7 different women, because they didn't have that structure, as I believe, good brother Dwight was saying, man, that structure. So I love this conversation, gentlemen. I do, because again, when we listen to one another and we can take these things, I'm coming to Sacramento in January. And brother DL, I'm calling you. You got to come, bro. Because here's what we're doing, gentlemen. We're using the air concept. And when I say we, me and a couple of my buddies that's out here really trying to make things better for the individuals to the left, right, adjacent and whatnot. But we use the air concept, Yusef. What is air? Like Air Jordan, air. A is abandonment, I is identity, and R is resilience. And we've seen the model work. We've seen the model work. We've seen 78-year-old men crying, role playing, speaking what they would say to their father. Just like you, Yusef. You saw him land on the ice box. You pounded on his chest. What would you say to him today, right now, to break that yoke? The identity of that is always going to be. So we could go on and on for days, man. Please, if you're out there, understand, man, that whether you've had the father in the life, whether you didn't, you are still accountable.
That's right.
You're still responsible. You still have to shape your identity. You still have to be resilient. As my pops always says, hey, we didn't just fall off the turnip truck today. But the reality is, your kids depend on you. Do not let that same cycle screw your children over.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, sir. Next, come on.
Well, at the end of the day, one of the things that I've realized, is that everybody's talking and it's great, right? We look at our lives and we think, well, I don't want to be like my dad, right? So I look at myself and go, my past doesn't have to be indicative of the future. So I create a forward roadmap. I have since I was very young, but that roadmap behind, right? A rearview mirror is smaller, but I still need to take into account how I was raised so that I have that critical thinking knowledge so that when my filter goes through, I go, oh my goodness, I'm acting like my dad, workaholic. And that's how my core values. Oh my goodness, his core values were work, work, work. I didn't feel that family in there. I knew he loved me. He provided for me. He told me as a very young man, there's only 3 things I have to give you: roof over your head, food in your tummy, and love you. Everything else you have to earn. And I have realized I didn't have to earn it through him. I had to earn it through God. Because at the end of the day, he was still my father. He was still somebody that raised me. I didn't have to like the fact that I got spanked or that he kicked me, smacked me in the head. He was one of 18 kids. Had lots of, can you imagine back in the 30s and 40s? So I just look at the fact, you know what? My father, how he raised me, that's a stepping stone to what I want to be as a man. And these are my core values. And I'm slipping back to that work, work, work instead of faith, family, and work. And my accountability to me specifically creates that emotional maturity, that emotional IQ where it's more stable, where it's not in the valley of despair going up and down. And, I get camped in life and I get caught. I always have that accountability to me so I can be accountable and supportive of everybody around me, from the littlest to the oldest. I know many of you have kids. Again, with me having 4 daughters and a son, all adults, one of the things that I always think about is when I'm talking to them, am I telling them something that they've seen as a model? Or am I just speaking out of my butt? Right? So always be what you're going to be. Look at the past. Don't let it control you, but you still have to have that as an indicator to control your future and what you don't want to be, in my opinion.
That's dope.
I love
That's
it.
That's dope. Yeah.
We're getting close to the back end. We're in the back end right now. So I'm gonna just throw out some words and let you guys speak to them. All right. That's how we're going to end the show today. This is all from a male perspective, so don't tell me what your wife and you don't need that. This is your perspective. Betrayal, heartbreak, forgiveness, the floor is yours.
Man, I'm gonna throw out one word in response to all of those words: inevitable. Inevitable. Betrayal is inevitable. Heartbreak is inevitable. And the best thing about it, forgiveness is inevitable. And they're all free. Each one of them is free, right? When it comes to betrayal and heartbreak, I've learned one thing, and that's expectation when it comes to people, right? I expect people to be people. And what I mean by when I say that is I expect them to be flawed. I expect them to not fit the bill that I have for them, right? I expect them to be exactly who they say they are, and then some on the lower scale. This way, I'm never disappointed, right? But it's because I've been betrayed by people I held up here. It's because I've had my heart broken by people that filled my heart, right? But the best thing is, and again, 22-year-old out there who's experiencing or has experienced or will experience these things, the restoration comes in forgiveness. The scripture tells us when we forgive, that's where we feel the Father's forgiveness. When we withhold it, that's when we know He's going to withhold it, right? So when you forgive, you're going to find yourself free of all of the things that you are feeling right now or that you may feel in the future, right? Because betrayal and heartbreak, those are two things that can and oftentimes do hold us prisoner. They take us captive, right? Because we're led in those ways, because those are the things that we poured into, right? And so we expect something back from it. And the last thing we expect is betrayal and heartbreak. But oftentimes, more often than not, that's what we end up getting. So, youngster out there, man, be prepared to forgive for the one who hasn't experienced it, and for the one who has experienced it, learn to do it and embrace the concept of that, because, man, I'm telling you, there's so much more life out there to be had when you're willing and able to let God break that shackle, and it's as simple as forgiveness.
I love that.
I love that. Dustin, at the end of the day, I look at the fact that in my life, I'm glad I've had all those, right? People go, what do you mean you're glad you had all those? Guess what? You know how many clients I have, thousands of them that I've had over the years in the financial and the life coaching business. And they'll say to me, I just want to be happy all the time. I said, why would you want to be happy all the time? If you don't have lows, how do you know you have a high? If you're not sad, how do you know you're happy? If you're not angry, how do you know you're joyous? You have to have the
100%.
alternative, and you have to have the opposite side in order to climb in life.
Watching too many cartoons, that's what's going on. That ain't real. Watching them Disney movies, that's not real, man.
Yeah, no, 100%, Dwight. I agree 100%, man. We have to have those things to converse about it, right? The converse sides. People think that they're polar opposites, but we're talking about it right now because we've experienced the lows and the highs. That's converse, right? That creates the conversation. But I agree 100%, man. I would not be who I am today, and I would not be pleased, and I would not be able to serve God joyfully if it wasn't for the fact that I've experienced those lows. Because in those lows, I've seen His goodness. Right, in those lows I've seen the light, in that dark I've seen His light, in the hurt I've seen His love. Right, I've tasted and seen that He's good, so I ain't going back.
I'll jump in on that for a second. I love what you guys have said so far. As I've been sitting here thinking about it, I also think that those three words are things that we want to strive for because of what they mean. When you cannot experience betrayal from somebody unless you believe in loyalty, unless you believe in serving others and not betraying people. The only reason that betrayal hurts is because you hold yourself to a standard where that's not acceptable. And I think that heartbreak is the same way. I think if you aren't experiencing heartbreak, then you're not allowing yourself to love to that degree where you can experience it. And I think you're way too closed off. So if you can experience heartbreak, then it means that you're out there and you're giving all the love you can possibly give. And eventually you're going to hit that. And then forgiveness, I think, is the same thing. Yeah, I think forgiveness is the same thing. And then I'll shut up here. But, forgiveness is the same thing. You can't offer forgiveness unless you have an idea as to how and to what it means. And if you're not in your faith, and if you're not, following the Lord, then you don't really understand what giving forgiveness to someone who has betrayed you or caused you heartache really, really means. And so I think that if you're feeling those three things, I think you're in pretty good shape, and I think you're on the right path.
It's good stuff. Who would that jump in?
Go ahead and drop that mic, Rory. Go ahead and drop that mic.
He already dropped it already. This is that brand new mic. Who's next? Heard somebody else talking. Who's that?
All I added was the fact that of empathy. I said one word. All of that helps us develop the ability to be empathetic, because if we can analyze our circumstances, what we've gone through, live in that feeling, like somebody mentioned earlier, accept it. It also helps us be the best version of ourselves, to be empathetic, to have somebody talk to us and go, and not, and you're listening. You're listening to them. You're not just waiting to respond, by actually having that empathy. So those things have helped me be more empathetic, right? To be more kind and considerate, to always think to what's that person going through? I always was raised, what's that person going through? Walking in their shoes, what would you feel? I know it's tough for people to do that. Well, their life's not my life, but that's not the point of that exercise. That point is for you to slow down, to think, to actually be critical and compassionate about your thought process and what you're thinking about somebody else, and you don't know where they've been.
I love it. John, I want to say thank you.
100.
You jumping in here and doing this. This has been a fantastic conversation. We are up against it a little bit. But as you know, every month we do this again. So be looking out for some reach out regarding November. If this was so good like this, I don't know how to reach out. I don't know. Wow, this was amazing, man. But in the right-hand corner of your screen is a QR code. If you're interested in being on the wait list for a panelist, jump in or drop it in for your friends who you might get value out of that. Get that QR code right there. And you guys, I don't know how to get you guys to share where they can find you, because we don't have a whole lot of time left. So let's try this instead. In the live chat on the YouTube channel, Facebook, wherever you guys are watching this, jump inside there with your information. If you don't mind doing this, that means everybody's on this panel. Drop your info, how you're going to be contacted, email, website, whatever it is. Drop it in the live chat via YouTube or Facebook, and that way people can find you once you go over the air. If you go over the air in about less than 60 seconds, all right? So drop that information, do your podcast that you want them to watch, whatever it is, drop it all in there. Hopefully somebody that's watching will get value from checking you out, checking out your work. So drop in your podcast, your email, your website, or all three. They don't know how to find you, man. And again, man, thank you guys for jumping here and doing this. Not in the private chat, in the live where people can see it. You can't see it in here. When I close the door and put the lock on it, put it in the YouTube chat, y'all. Come on, man. I love y'all, man. Thank y'all so much. Not in the private chat, they're just for us to see. We're behind the curtain, man, behind the fifth wall. Man, everybody knows what's going on. But thank y'all again for doing this, man. It's been a fantastic conversation. Let's talk offline. If you need to talk about anything, I'm here for you, man. Love you guys, and thank you for being here. For you listeners and viewers, this podcast episode is live. So it's on all our social media platforms, except a couple of them. They'll be up within the hour and listening platform before 1 o'clock today. So thank you again for watching and listening. This is the Men's Roundtable Series podcast, and we are men, and we're good with that.
Thank you.